Taurus, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. In these weekly videos, I review the major planetary aspects and transits, the astrology for this week, the week of August 24th to the 30th of 2023. All you need to know to be able to enjoy this video is your birthday. Everything else I'm going to translate for you. We're going to start off really broad with the charts for this week. And then I'm going to whittle that down and focus it into Taurus specific information. And then I will break everything down into the 3 decans of Taurus so that you will know how all this energy or all the other planets are impacting your natal sun in particular. And I'll tell you how you know, or how I know how to locate your natal sun. Don't worry. Once again, all you need to know is your birthday. Let's start out with the big stuff, right? Now, 2 big things happened yesterday. Mercury went into retrograde on the 23rd, and the sun moved into Virgo. But just the day before, on the 22nd, the sun opposed Saturn. So you have sun opposed Saturn, and then you have sun moving into Virgo in opposition to Saturn, because Saturn is at 4 degrees Pisces right now. And then you have Mercury going into retrograde. That's a whole lot of energy being just slowed down. That's like almost like the brakes suddenly being put on, and it feels like all of a sudden there's a clog in the works. To slow us down even more this week, it's around the 27th that Mars, which is the only planet that isn't retrograde or in its shadow, it's the only planet moving full speed, but it goes directly into Libra. It transits into Libra on the 28th, I believe. And it's in detriment in Libra. So the only planet going full speed ahead is going into the zodiac sign where it's in detriment. So that slows it down too, because it doesn't slow it down so much as it mutes it a little bit. It's not as potent as it usually is, because Mars in Libra seeks to equalize instead of make any progress or push forward. Now that's a really good thing, because justice could be served at this point, especially in retrograde. Though I think we're doing more digging than we are actual execution until these retrogrades start to be over, and that will be more toward the middle of October. So we are kind of screeching to a halt, except for digging in and discovering. We have another, what could be potentially frustrating energy, which is Venus square to Jupiter all week long, and Venus is also says a square to Neptune. So what does that mean? It basically means that we're sort of self-medicating by overindulging, because we're not really doing so great with all these brakes being put on, and we need something to trigger our pleasure centers, something to sort of deceive ourselves, because we're sort of our way of reacting. So this could be a time where we try to self-medicate. We also have Mars opposite to Neptune, and Mercury, which is in retrograde now, opposite to Neptune through the 27th. So until the end of this week, there is also major difficulty when it comes to discerning what's right, what's real, where to put our energy, and how to not overreact to things, and what things are worth even getting our attention. Mars opposite Neptune can make us feel or be triggered by our feelings of inadequacies, and so we're almost like punching air or aiming our energy at shadows, where it's sort of it's deceptive and it wastes our energy. And then we also have Mars opposite Mercury opposite Neptune, and in retrograde it's just this sense of complete disruption and complete fog. It's almost like going into the fog and not being sure how to head out, and getting really frustrated while we're there. We have Mercury by the 29th, Mercury retrograde, trining Jupiter, also trining Uranus, which gives us a glimmer of hope into discovery or realization, or ability to broaden and expand our mind. And Uranus goes into retrograde on the 29th too, so you have Uranus retrograde trine Mercury retrograde. That's real digging in and discovery. Like aha moments could happen with stuff that we'd missed or flown by. So there we could start sort of cracking the cases. Then on the 30th, this week culminates in a full moon in Pisces. The full moon in Pisces is conjunct to Saturn. The moon and Saturn don't get along so well. So the conjunction between them is sort of authority over your emotions, or your emotions with regards to rules, laws, regulations, feeling too constricted or restricted, or self-control, even somehow learning how to control your emotions. But remember, full moon is in opposition to the sun. So this is a sense of real frustration. I think this full moon in Pisces. Moon in Pisces is very tranquil energy. It's very romantic and it's very loving. But conjunct Saturn, there's a lot of, okay, well, make this real for me, or make it tangible, or make it make sense. And ultimately that kind of blocks it and stops it. In other words, this full moon is really a popping point because it's a super moon too. So the emotions are going to be really intense, and it's going to be a point where I think a lot is released, especially with family issues, because Moon conjunct Saturn is most definitely mother-father energy. Let's go into Taurus-specific information. So what do I look at for Taurus-specific information? I look at what's going on in Taurus, and then what's going on with your ruling dignitary, which is Venus. What's going on in Taurus? You have two major things going on. We have Jupiter and we have Uranus. Jupiter is going to be moving between 15 to 14 degrees. Why? Because by I'm sorry, 14 to 15 degrees. But Jupiter is definitely slowing down, and Jupiter will eventually go retrograde by the 3rd of September. But it's going to move from 14 to 15 degrees right now in Taurus, and then in Uranus is going retrograde. It's stationary. It's not moving. It's going to be at 23 degrees, and it stayed at 23 degrees for a while because it was in its shadow period and it was retrograding. And in a lot of ways, when Uranus goes retrograde, it's almost like we don't think as acutely and we don't think as precisely or as broadly as we could. So there could be a dumbing down for the next couple of months of everything that's going on, or almost like a giving over to it, not fighting it anymore. There's this lack of energy when it comes to different things that could be discovered, or different breakthroughs, or oddities being explored, or us being open to them. It's almost like we're retreating back from that. What's going on with Venus? Venus is still in retrograde. She's in Leo. She's going to retrograde from 14 to 12 degrees this week. She is square to Jupiter, which is all about indulgence and decadence and eating too much and drinking too much and fucking too much. It's all about pleasing or overindulging our pleasure centers. And this can be really fun. But in the atmosphere that it's in now, it's almost like self-medicating. So watch out for the overindulgences, you guys. The César square to Neptune is also extremely deceptive, and it's like too dreamy. It's getting lost in the dream. It's being delusionally romantic. Or this sense of it's triggering us. It's like in comparison to our romantic ideals, we're trying to overindulge in order to convince ourselves when there's all this other crap flying around. She's also, through the 26th, semi-square to Mars, which means there's some tension there between the divine masculine and divine feminine energy. This energy of irritation, or somehow them not being balanced or irritating each other. So that could also impact roles that you have in your intimate partnerships. And then we have a trine to Chiron through the 26th as well, which means that we're trying to heal. We're trying to learn from our past. But ultimately, there's a lot of other confusion that's going on. So Venus is certainly stimulated, but it's more difficult energy than it is energy that can really illuminate. Though it could inspire change. It definitely could. It could definitely trigger us enough, especially you guys, because she's your ruling dignitary, to want change. Yeah. Let's go into Taurus decans. Okay, if you know your natal sun, because you have your natal chart, and if you don't, it's easy to get. You can just search free natal chart, free birth chart. You need your birth date, your birth time, and your birth location. So get that information before you go looking for your birth chart. But once you put that in, it only takes a few seconds. If you know your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Taurus, you are Taurus once, because your natal sun is in the first decan of Taurus. This correlates to Taurus birthdays, say April 22nd and the 31st of April, or maybe the 1st of May. Yeah, April 22nd, because I don't think April has 31 days, does it? May does, June doesn't, July does. Yeah, so April has, I think, 30 days. So say April 22nd to May 1st. Okay. That would be around the range of your birthdays, Taurus, for Taurus 1. You guys are sextile to Saturn, which means that you are being taken seriously, and there is a gravity to you that makes other people take you seriously, and your mind puts things into easy order, even if that's normally not the case for you right now. But it's the whole year long, and it's a great time to build outward, making great waves or progress when it comes to your career, or whatever you're working on. It also means that your natal suns are going to be sextile to this full moon. So there's great opportunities that come from whatever explosion or release happens around this full moon. So very productive energy, and it's a great time for you to manifest, make your magic, write your spells if you guys are into it. This is a very powerful moon for you. It's a super full moon that your natal suns are sextile to. So there's a lot of doors that could open up with those powerful, even just your mentality around that time. Doors will open. You're also all week long sextile to the sun. So there's a natural charisma, energy, and confidence to you. This is a beautiful week to really break through. You also have a quincunx to Mars. You're also within 30 degrees of Neptune, which means that I think you'll be more frustrated by bullshit than taken in by it. So I think you guys will really be able to discern. It will be just causing a pain in your side and irritating you to see all this fantasy or all this distraction. It will, and I think the irritation will keep you awake and keep you from being susceptible to, being sold shit for gold, that kind of energy. If you are at the cusps, so that is the cusp of Aries and Taurus, your natal suns are square to Pluto, and they're conjunct the North Node. So there's major changes and major sort of growing up and directional change in your life, where you're assuming more personal authority, you're more conscious of your behavior, and you're not as scared of the unknown. You're more curious about it. You're sort of accepting the next stage in your life. This is a transitional period for you where you own more of your personal identity. Let's go on to Taurus 2s. Let's go on to Taurus 2s. If your natal suns are between 10 and 19 degrees Taurus, you guys are Taurus 2s. So that correlates to birthdays between May 2nd and the 11th. Excuse me. Your natal suns are conjunct to Jupiter, which really can put you ahead of yourself and give you sort of a big head. Like you think too much of yourself, or you expect that whatever you do is just going to just explode and be perfect, and it's not. So it could also come along with a lot of disappointments. Keep the optimism and forget the entitlement, and you'll be doing really well with this conjunction. You also have a square to Venus, so right now there is a tendency to overindulge or over-romanticize everything, and it's not a great time. There can be conflicts when it comes to, especially how you feel you look, how your own personal self-image, over-exaggerating it, whether for better or for worse. there's just this energy of going overboard right now. And then you have a trine to Mercury from the 29th on. So by the 29th, your natal suns will trine Mercury. I think this will be actually very helpful energy, because you will be almost in some ways, it could be relaxing tensions for you and giving you more time and more space that you actually need and could find useful. Taurus 3s, if you know that your natal suns are between 20 and 29 degrees Taurus, you're Taurus 3s. This correlates to those of you with birthdays in May, about from the 12th through the 22nd. So those would be you guys, all right? Your natal suns are conjunct Uranus, which is going retrograde on the 29th. When your natal sun is conjunct Uranus, there is a sense of, I want to be unique. I want to like stake my own claim to my own individuality. I absolutely need it. When it goes in retrograde, it becomes more personal. It becomes more less of what you think of me and more of what I think of me and the work that I have to do to really understand who the hell I am. Then we have you guys square to the full moon and square to Saturn. You've been square to Saturn this whole time. It's going to be super exaggerated now. Very irritating, very like contentious energy around this full moon. A lot of emotions may pop, especially with father figures, authority figures, laws, rules, regulations. So I would be very, very careful with how you speak to authority figures around that time. All week long, you're trine to Mercury, trine to Mars, the cusps. For those of you on the cusp, the Taurus, Gemini cusp, you guys will be trine to Mars all week long, which would be, say, March 21st, 22nd, 23rd, those of you born around that time. But those of you born before then, basically your trine to Mars will dry up toward the end of the week, more toward the 28th. So up to the 28th, you're trine to Mars and Mercury. You have a long-term trine to Pluto, because Pluto's at 28 degrees Capricorn. This is honestly kind of like kicking back and settling in to the craziness of change and what's going on around you, and really being open and interested in being okay with the disruptive energy, and in some ways being okay being the disruptor. You also have a sextile to Neptune, so that means you're highly creative. Your natal suns are coming up with a lot of different brilliant ideas. It could be just great ideas with all these trines that are happening. Some ways it's almost like you guys are totally cool with all the fog and all the mysticism, and totally cool with things not being certain right now. And that could actually help you kind of ease your way through the next couple of weeks, which would be a very good thing. But when it comes to this full moon, you're going to be confronted by like a harsh kind of reality, especially where parents or parental figures are concerned. So on the 30th, everything could really surprise you, and those challenges could cause you a lot of dissonance. FYI. You guys let me know in the comments below how you're already feeling this energy. And if you love these videos, don't forget to like them and share them on your social media network. Please subscribe to the channel so we grow over here. And then come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot for your week ahead tarot card reading. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the videos.